Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here. You guys have been asking for an all reticulated python show, so I took my show on the road and came to a really cool retic collection. You're watching SnakeBytes. You guys know that I'm a huge retic fan, so I'm so excited to be over at my friend Eric from SnakeBytes Reptile Cages place. He specializes in retics, although he does have a few other cool animals. That's not why I'm here. It's to show you some of the most awesome retics. But let's get started about these cages. He also manufactures these aluminum cages that are just amazing for big snakes. Look at how beautiful that retic is in there, and this happens to be the first animal I want to showcase to you guys. This is actually an albino golden child retic. Look at how amazing that animal is. Now, the golden childs are actually a co-dominant or dominant animal because there hasn't been a super form produced yet, but when you breed them to a normal or an albino, about half the babies are going to come out golden child. And of course, in this case, it's an albino, which is a recessive mutation. So as you can see, the albino and golden child mix together really well. And essentially, the traits of the golden child are typically just a really reduced pattern with this kind of zigzaggedy pattern down their back. But I tell you what a beautiful way to start off a retic show. What year did Brian produce his first baby reticulated pythons? A, 1995, B, 2004, or C, 2012? Go ahead and comment down below and check back later in the show for the correct answer. So I just showed you the albino golden childs, but I wanted to show you what a normal golden child looks like and just how incredible of an animal it is. You can certainly see it looks very different than a normal reticulated python. And what's interesting about golden childs is that they're typically a little smaller than the mainland retics that we all know get to be really monstrous. Now, this particular animal is even more gorgeous, and it happens to be 50% Jampea, which means it's going to stay a little smaller even so. And again, this guy is pretty active, but look at how amazing that color is and the iridescence that comes through with the pattern and the keel scales. Oh my gosh, this thing is definitely a beauty. Since I've showed you some bigger golden childs, I might as well go ahead and round out some of these beauties here. These are some baby albino golden childs that are probably only about 2 weeks old. And look at how awesome they are. Now, these guys hatch out at almost 2 foot in length, and they've just shed, and as you can imagine, a snake that hatches out that large, it's going to probably eat little rats right off the bat. That's one of the things that's really cool about reticulated pythons, is that they're not finicky babies whatsoever. These guys are coming out and they're ready to destroy food. But you can see that they don't change a whole lot from baby to adult. But I tell you what, these golden childs, they are some sick animals. There's a lot of really complicated genetics, and Eric certainly works with a bunch of different ones when it comes to retics, but this is really where it all started, with animals like this. This is actually just an albino tiger reticulated python. And again, the tiger retic is a co-dominant mutation. I tell you, when you're dealing with retics, the one thing is they love to run, and this guy is no exception to that. It's not that it's a mean animal whatsoever, it's just they like to just run through your hands and keep moving, so it's always a challenge. And you can imagine when this animal is 18 or 20 foot long, how difficult it's going to be to handle. Now again, the albino tiger reticulated pythons is pretty simple when it comes to genetics. The albino is a recessive mutation, and the tiger is a co-dominant. And again, this used to be the gem of all retics. Now they're relatively common, but it's still a really powerful animal to have if you have some of the genetics that's going on here. There's a few things that happen when you're walking around this place. First off, you see a bunch of really incredible reticulated pythons. Secondly, you realize all the complexity of genetics behind them. This animal is going to really fit into that complexity well. This is a super tiger Sunfire Citron. Now, the Citron is actually het titanium. The Sunfire is a co-dominant mutation to get super Sunfires, and of course, the super tiger is the offspring of breeding tiger to tiger. That's a lot to really think about with retics, but the fortunate thing is that these guys have large clutch numbers, so when you're going with these really complicated genetics, you can hit it because you're going to maybe get 40, 50, even 60 eggs in the clutch. I tell you what, retics can be a little bit complicated, but man, it's so worth it when you see the outcome of these incredible genetics. All right, so we just showed you what a Citron is, which is a het titanium. Believe it or not, this is a titanium. Look at how incredible
incredible that is. It completely wipes out the pattern. It's got the white kind of slashing on the side, and it's just got this overall olive look to it. It's pretty amazing because I was keeping retics when I was just a teenager, and to even imagine animals like this color and pattern blows me absolutely away. I remember when the first tiger retics came around, which just is relatively similar to that, but a lot more pattern and a lot more color. I really thought those were incredible. Now, fast forward 10 or 15 years, it's amazing what they've done with these retic morphs. Moving on to the next cage, and it does seem like every time I move to the next cage, there's another amazing animal. This happens to be an albino tiger titanium. So you can see with retics, they're starting to put together so many different mutations with the tigers, the albinos, the titaniums. It's really amazing that when you can get 3 or 4 genes together, how different it makes the snake look. But I tell you what, this is absolutely a gorgeous animal. And again, genetically, it has so much going on. It's going to be a real powerhouse, breeding it to other mutations. Let me tell you a little bit about this snake. Now, Eric tells me it's a little bit sketchy or dodgy when it comes to handling, so I'm going to leave her in her cage because let's face it, I don't want to get hit by a snake this size, but it's really a gorgeous specimen. It's actually a platy tiger citron, and the platy gene is pretty interesting because when you breed platies together, you can get all white snakes, which are ivories or ultra ivories, and then selectively breeding, you can actually get black-eyed Lucies, which are really, truly amazing. But again, it's amazing how that platinum and citron gene pops, and it just turns this really bright yellow animal. I tell you what, she looks like a puppy dog, but I know how retics are. As soon as you get them out and they're a little bit sketchy, you just never know what they're going to do. So I think I'm just going to leave this one alone for the day. Whether you're breeding ball pythons or you're breeding retics, the game is to always produce the coolest paint jobs, and Eric really did it with this one. Remember that super tiger Sunfire Citron I showed you? Well, that's het albino, and he bred it to a titanium het albino and produced some ridiculous offspring. Take a look at this. Now, of course, the entire clutch is tiger because it was a super tiger dad, but these are Sunfire Titaniums, and look at the pattern and color just popping. Now, again, I told you that they were het for albino, so guess what? This is the albino version. So you have an albino Sunfire Tiger Titanium. That is a whole lot to say. I think retic people need to start shortening their names a little bit, but what gorgeous animals. And look at the polymorphism within these animals. I mean, they all look so different, but they're all so incredibly clean and just incredibly beautiful and a little feisty too. This is a phantom stripe, which is an interesting animal with even a more interesting story. Now, this is a co-dominant or dominant animal because it hasn't been around long enough to prove out whether there's a superform. But there's a recessive striped animal that's called an orange ghost stripe, and when Kevin McCurley bred the phantom stripe to the orange ghost stripe, he produced a solid white snake. But what's interesting is as that snake started to grow, it started to get blotches all over it, and that's why he calls it a cow retic. I tell you what, there's a pretty good future for this project. I could talk for hours about all the cool retics and paint jobs that Eric is working with, but I want to end with a project that he's pioneering that is really awesome. Now let's back up for 1 second and talk about albino reticulated pythons. There's really 3 phases: the white phase, the lavender phase, and the most sought after phase, which is the purple phase. And they're sought after because they're the darkest of the purple albino reticulated pythons. And that's where this animal comes in. In 2008, Eric imported this animal and called it an orange glow. This came out of Indonesia, and as you can see, it's super purple. Now, when he went ahead and bred it to a normal albino, beyond belief, he ended up producing half the clutch, turning out to be orange glows right off the bat. So somehow the albino and the orange glow interacted almost like an allelic trait, and half of the babies come out looking just like the mom, super dark purple. It's like taking the purple albino retics and taking it up a notch to the next level. Let me show you the difference between the babies. So here's the results of an albino golden child bred to an orange glow. You would initially think you would just get animals just like this at best, if not double hets. And these are just lavender albino retics. Now these are beautiful in their own right, but these are just like the ones we produce back at our shop. But take a look at the orange glows that came out and the difference between the lavender albino and the orange glow. Look at all the purple and the richness in color. Now this is really amazing because I'm sure Eric was thinking when he bred the two together, he was going to get a bunch of normal babies that were double het for both. But sure enough, he got these super dark purple ones. Now to take it to one step further, I told you that the father was a golden child. So I want to show you the difference between a normal albino golden child that looks just like this. Again, a beautiful, beautiful snake in itself, but take a look when you put the orange glow in, how different they look. Holy cow, look at that, just look at that purple color. I mean, that is a stunning animal and is probably the prettiest snake that I've seen at Eric's place so far. So again, the albino golden child bred to the orange glow yields animals like this. It's pretty amazing. And first generation. Now I do want to show you one last orange glow animal, and that's an orange glow Motley that blew my mind earlier. It's almost impossible to pick a favorite animal amongst all these beautiful creatures, but the animal that really caught my eye when I first walked in was this orange glow Motley. Now the Motley mutation just recently was proved co-dominant, so there is a super form, and of course it's an orange glow, which we just talked about. And basically the Motley just really cleans it up, and that orange glow just makes it pop like crazy. Now I tell you what guys, retics aren't for everybody. They're a big snake, but if you have experience and you're ready to tackle a large animal, reticulated pythons are incredible because they're very intelligent and they're so much fun to work with. And you can see there's just a million cool paint jobs to be had. I really want to thank Eric for allowing me to come over and play with these amazing animals. Make sure to check them out over at facebook.com/Centec Reptile Cages.
All right, so today you guys got to see Brian working with a lot of really big retics. Now, retics are one of those animals that are kind of intimidating for some people to keep because they get so big and they make a lot of mess. I'm included in one of those people who probably will never keep one. But I want to know, what kind of animal would you never see yourself keeping? For whatever reason, whether it's a personal reason or a practical reason, leave a comment below and let us know.
So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. There certainly was some amazing animals at this collection. Make sure to check them out over on facebook.com/Centec Reptile Cages. And if you want to follow any of my animal adventures, make sure to hit me up over on Facebook and Twitter at SnakeBytesTV. Until next week, you've been watching Snake Bites. What year did Brian produce his first baby reticulated pythons? If you answered C, 2012, you were absolutely correct. Good job. Yeah, you don't really have a whole lot of control over it because it's in your arms, and you can see it's just gonna eat me alive. And then you gotta certainly watch out for your face. So trust me, snake hooks are a really important tool. Oh, I just see this thing is just summing me up like, where can I bite you? A couple bites are probably good enough for this guy, and I gotta be careful not letting it get too close to my face.